Welcome back to Paper Cut Crafts. Today I'm going to do some alternate cards with the paper pumpkin from March of 2020. So an alternate is just making a different card other than what the design is giving you, the instructions are. So this is one of the note cards, and I'm just cutting this image out. Then I'm going to use one of the other note cards as the backdrop. Now when I do alternates, I do try to use most of what's in the kit and not as much of other supplies, including the ink and embellishments and the such. So here I am going to cut off the back of this note card. So I'm going to use the front of it as my mat for the card. And this part I'm just going to discard. Now I'm just taking the image that I cut out. I'm just kind of playing around with where I want it to be. I want it looking like it's standing on the ground, but not too high up either. So I kind of had thought that I would use the whole piece, but now I'm going to just kind of cut it down to where the image stops. And I'm just using the snail. The snail is retiring with this annual catalog. There will be a replacement, so I am not going to include the number for the snail. And then I'm just attaching that right to the front of this note card. So I'm going to trim down this base so that it matches the image that I cut out previously. This trimmer is a personal trimmer that I had before I was a demonstrator, but Stampin'Up does have a very nice trimmer as well that will work just as well. So I'm just cutting off that top piece. I may use it later, I'm not sure. It's a nice coloration, so I'm just going to hang on to it. And now I'm going to add a little bit of stamping to this. The stamp set that came with the paper pumpkin has a really nice detail stamp that I think looks nice as a ground piece, kind of like pavement or cobblestone. I'm just going to add that with the ink spot that came with the kit. I went to go stamp this and I realized that the boots are a little bit low. I wanted this to look kind of like they were standing on it, so I'm going to have to peel up the boots a little bit so I can get the stamp underneath. And then I realized that my stamp is in the middle of my block, and it would be easier if it was at the top of the block. That way I didn't have to shove it underneath the boots as much. So as for repositioning it and stamping, I get it the way I would like it, and then I continued stamping to give it some more detail. On the back of all the paper pumpkin instruction pamphlets, they have a list of all the colors that were used in that paper pumpkin. So this is how I knew which color would match this particular image. So I just grabbed a few different colors and I matched up the ones that I liked the best and proceeded from there. Most kits come with tags of some kind. Again, these are all color matched to the kit. So then I just went through trying to figure out which color I liked the best for the use and came up with an idea to tuck this underneath so that it looked like a little ribbon that's coming out from under. But I wanted the ribbon to match both ends, so I'm lining up the little triangle cutout of the tag itself with the piece that I just cut off. And I'm just going to copy that with my snips. And then I am going to use my chalk pen to add some dotted lines. You can't see the detail in this image or this video, but there are some white lines giving it that ribbon look, so I wanted to add that on to the new piece that I had made. And then I do use just some dots to adhere it to the project, as well as some snail. I would like to add some words to this tag that I just made, so I'm kind of hunting around a few of my paper pumpkin stamp sets that I've pulled out here to see if anything fits. Now, I did find one from a previous kit that fits the tag and what I'm looking for. It just says "for you." I'm going to use a matching right marker, and I'm going to color it in because it comes in one line, but I would like it to be stacked. So I'm just going over it with my marker, and then I'm going to stamp it, clean it off, and then color the other part and stamp it below the first one. And then I also found that it was a little light, so I did go over it again. Previously, you saw me punching out some hearts. I felt that the one side of the card was a little bare, so the kit has some punch hearts, die cut hearts, and I'm just punch those out. I'm going to add those later just as a nice little detail to the side. And here's the finished card. So very simple and very neat. For my next card, I'm using this as my sample because I wanted to fold like this. I made this card in a previous video. So I've gone to the back of the paper pumpkin again and found a matching color that fits with what I want to do. So this card is cut to 4 1/4 and 8 1/2 with a score mark at 3 inches. And this creates that flap in the front. And once again, I'm taking one of the cards and I'm cutting off the back part of it so I can use just the front panel. So this is another piece of the kit, just some die cuts, and I am trying to figure out which one will work best with the idea I want. So I'm kind of playing around. I like these boots, and I like the extension, but it just seemed like the color was coming through a little bit too much. But in the end, I like the length over the color. So I just added it with some snail to the edge of the panel that I cut. And then I'm also using other pieces from the set to add a little bit more personality to the card. So I'm just playing around and pulling out pieces and attaching them both with snail and with the dot adhesive. I'm pulling out my gray blends marker to add a little bit of shadowing to the image. It kind of felt like the rabbit was floating a little bit, so I'm just adding a little underline to it, just kind of give it a look that it's sitting on the grass opposed to hovering over it. And then I'm attaching the tag, and I like the little overhang piece, so I just snipped off the part that's overhanging. The sentiment is from the kit as well, and I'm adding that with the ink from the kit. I felt that the color was still coming through a little bit too harsh with the panel, so I am stamping a background image onto it with the color that came with the kit. This stamp is the birthday stamp set that came with the March set. March is Paper Pumpkin's birthday, so they tend to add an extra stamp set for their birthday as kind of a gift to everybody. And I'm just using it as like a background image to break up the solid color since I don't have a background panel piece. And now to attach the front panel that comes over top, I am going to use some of the dimensionals, and I'm just attaching them to the one side. That way I have a nice flap that can lay over top of the second panel and hold it all shut. It's important not to put it on both sides, otherwise your card won't open. And here is my final card. For the next card, I'm going to be using this piece, and again, I'm cutting off the back of the card so that I can just use the front panel. And again, I'm just using my personal trimmer to get that a nice clean cut. And then I am attaching this to a regular card of Whisper White. And just making sure my alignment and size works with what I hope to do. So this piece is another stamp that comes from the birthday set of the Paper Pumpkin for March. And I am stamping that again in the color that comes with the kit. Again, I'm using the die cut pieces from the set. These are cute little boots that I thought would make a really nice little front here. And since my transition from the stamp on the card image is not real definite, I thought it was a nice little mask as well. So I'm just attaching that with the snail right on top. And then I'm going to use the gray blends again to add a little bit of shadow, make it look like I'm actually having them stand on the ground and not floating on the ground. It's just real easy to do this. You just add a little bit of a line around the contour of the image. And again, I'm looking for a little bit of a breakup between the door stamp and the rest of the card to kind of build a picture for it. So I am using the clouds out of the kit to make it look like part of the building is covered in cloud, just so that I'm not floating this door in the middle of nowhere, since I don't actually have a building represented in the background. I am going to build up a building on the side. I used the stamp earlier for the ground, and now I'm going to use them as bricks as the side of the building. It's real easy to do this. I'm just stamp it a couple of times along the side. Now in the kit they also have these really neat teardrop self-adhesive enamels. They look like tears, or not tears, they look like raindrops, and it's really it's a neat dimension to the front of the card. Here I'm using another blend that matches with the kit, and I'm just coloring in some highlight details to the door stamp. I'm not going to color the whole thing in, I just want to give it a little bit of a definition to break up the image. And I'm just going to kind of place this on top to make sure that it still fits and looks alright. I did decide that the background was a little bit bare, so I went hunting again through the stamp sets that came with this kit, and I found a pattern piece, and I decided that this would make a nice little matte background to the mat that I have created, and I'm just going to stamp that all the way around on the Whisper White. And for the final touch of the card, I'm just adding my mat that I made with the snail right to the front. Just center it real nice. And this will be the finished card. And for the final alternate card, we are once again going to cut this off and just use the front of the note card. This one I decided that I was going to use mostly what the design was for the card, but I am making it a regular size card since these are note cards. So I'm kind of following along with how it is in the directions, but I'm also adding a little bit of a touch to make it a regular sized card. And here's my finished card. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Please like and subscribe. Happy stamping!